the abuse of power by the patriarchy in religion has backfired, and you guys need to take responsibility. Hi everyone, what is up, winning team? Okay, before we get into it, I'm going to give a disclaimer because I already know some of you guys as demons are already getting just at the single thought of a woman coming for the male community. But I can assure you my intentions are pure here. I just need to call it out for what it is, and I'm holding everybody accountable. I just did another previous video, which you'll see before this one, in which I was talking about, us as men and women. I focused heavily, I would say more so on the women in that side, and the fake good, the fake phony, hypocritical good Christian girlies and all of this, and the problems that I find as a woman, and things that we are doing wrong as women, as Christians. You guys know I always say, you got to deal with the issues in your own camp before you start poking fingers at the other camp, right? So I've pointed the fingers at my camp, and honestly, if you've been a member of my channel, you know that for the majority of a long period of time, I spoke mostly about what us women are doing wrong, and I talk about it all the time. You all know that the people, my absolute person who I cannot stand the most in the world of all time, who I would say is our modern day mother of prostitutes, Kris Jenner, who is one of the people that irritates me in a way a man never could. But today we're coming for the patriarchy, because I feel that there's a historical abuse of power from the patriarchy within religion that has led us here. And at the end of the previous video, when I decided to make this video, the first thing that dawned on me was this. When it comes to the scriptures, right? When it comes to any religious text, whatever you believe, listen, I've got the Bible here, I've got the Quran here, I've got the Book of Mormon, I've got the freaking Dianetics and Scientology. You guys know we've been reading these things. We haven't done lots on the Book of Mormon just yet, but we've done a lot of deep dives on a lot of religions. And there's always this thing in a lot of religion, and this is what even modern day Christians who are maybe not as extreme, not cult or whatever, need to understand. There is a heavy imbalance of expectations of perfection between men and women, and it is driven by the men. And it is, as a result, it has meant, in my humble opinion, that the men are significantly worse affected by the kingdom of darkness than women are once they actually get into the faith, because they have a lot of things that kind of get put off and allowed that the women don't. It's the classic thing of like how, growing up, even in the world, as a woman, we have a lot more strict rules about times that we're allowed to be out, what we're allowed to do, what we're allowed to wear. Whereas the boys, it's kind of like whatever, a lot of women, we're taught how to do all these chores and stuff. And with the boys, it's kind of like whatever. That would work if they were at least having an equal and opposite level of expectation placed on them, appropriate for them as men, which is illustrated in the scriptures. The simplest and easiest example I can give is the scripture that they love to quote in church. Women, love your husbands, submit to your husbands as unto the Lord, right? And no one ever speaks about, and husbands, love your wives like Christ loved the church, and he died for the church. Jesus died for the church. So there are a lot of men in the world who I've seen emulate the Jesus level of manhood, because I think it goes just outside of husband and wife. I think it comes just down to character, who your character is as a person, and how society as a whole will actually work, right? Efficiently, because God created us to work as a team, henceforth, before I continue on, because again, I know I'm going to be battling up against the male demons, because it's funny, every time I come on here and I talk about any male driven religion, it's always the men in the comments. That's the times I always get the most comments. When I was doing my series about the Quran, all the men in the comments, all the Muslim men, have you read this? Have you read this? The young lady, this young lady, that. When I was doing about the Hebrew Israelites, you don't know this. They're so ready to come and put down a woman, right? And it's funny. It's funny because they're also the same ones that I'm pretty sure if I made a move, right, they would fall. They would fumble immediately. So that's the funny part to me. But we won't get too into that for now, although it's relevant because of some reasons we're going to get into, starting with, right? So, like I said, I believe God wanted to create balance, yeah? And I agree with all the scriptures. I agree with them. I'm happy with the scriptures the way they are. Look, hey, I got long live the patriarchy tattooed on my wrist. I'm loving life with the Lord. I'm loving life with the Lord. The Lord been doing stuff for me, and this is why I'm doing everything for the Lord. Because the Lord, and this is what I'm saying about how I know that it works. Because we don't have that dynamic of like a husband and wife, right? Or whatever. I've got God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, which are three different versions of, like whatever. And then there's me. And then because of how much God is doing for me, I'm doing everything for God. And that's why things work. And that's why we're closer than ever. And we have like the most closest relationship and things work between us. You know what I mean? And I can be here making these videos. And I can also have existed in a world where I've had such horrible experiences. And that's why I get how it works. Because I can also see the ways in which, you know, God, me being a woman with the dynamic of having God in my life is actually very necessary, that he's not also a woman per se. Right? So I've said this. It's the same way I said in another video. I'm going to really say everything again and we're all in this video. I do believe the Bible was written for men. I'll say it. I'll say it and I'll say it now. I'll say it and I'll say it now. I'll say what I really think about this, right? In the beginning, right, in the Bible, I know a lot of men love to do the woman you gave me. Like, the more excuses you give yourself, the worse you're always going to become, is you're always going to get. That goes for all of us as humans, right? And when men are not able, this is the sad thing about society, I feel like here, when men are not able to actually keep to the script of what's supposed to be done, then that's when society becomes degenerate. If they could, then we could all have a healthy, balanced amount of fun. Because this is what I feel like here, even myself. I'm just like, you know, when guys are just so ready to just be swayed into darkness, it means that now I have to overly think everything, and now everything is just freaking boring. Now everything has to be boring because now we all have to dress all modestly because God forbid you cause a man to stumble. And now I have to be so careful. I don't smile at a guy down the road and I don't do this. And it's because men don't have things like self-control. They don't have all these standards that they're supposed to reach that we as women do. And we're way, way more aware of the scriptures, I feel like, in those ways because we've been beaten, they've been beaten into us. But then this is what creates the imbalance in every area, and it only actually creates problems for everyone. Like, men abusing the patriarchal system in religion only backfires back on you. That's what I don't think you guys seem to realize. That's what I don't think a lot of people seem to realize when we look at this stuff. Either of us as men and women abusing our power that God gave us only backfires on ourselves always. That's why us as women going around now thinking like, you know, all of this whop, 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 and all this stuff that the girlies are doing. Yeah, you might be able to get a man to do this and that for you, but you're going to get a man that actually respects you, that actually makes you feel valued as a person, that actually, no, now you're struggling with that, right? Because you dropped the standards too low. You dropped your standards too low, so why expecting to be treated any higher? But at the same time, I say to the male community, if you're just always philandering and can't control yourself with the women, and when I say control yourself, I mean in any type of fashion, right? Taking accountability, even just to be responsible person in society. Like, get yourself together. Like, get it together. Like, get it together and get together. Like I'm gonna go there. One of my issues I have in the world, yeah, in the viewpoint of, oh, you know, women these days, they want to be all independent. Can I just say something? Men are not even strong anymore. And I mean by bodily, like bodily strength. Look at the kings of the world. I was looking at Kim Jong-un. I was thinking, what a loser. Bro literally has to reign by fear. People are there clapping in fear and everything while he's there looking fat, right? Because he's not a respectable man enough of character to win the people over by who he is. You know what I'm saying? The likes of people like Charles and whatnot that we have over here, or all these world leaders, a lot of them, they have to maintain power by keeping us all enslaved because they're not the men of character. Like, you know, when you hear old stories or you see old things and you see like proper actual men of character, like, you know, the ones that you would see or around in the communities. So I was thinking earlier today, you know what we need to do? We need to like figure out who the men of the community are like, and we need to start like getting behind them when we take out all of the, you guys know that it's my dream. There's a revolution I've been thinking about. So this is why I'm thinking about all of this, because I'm thinking logistics. I'm thinking of the logistics. And I'm thinking we need to take out all of the governments everywhere, all over the world, and we need to replace them with people that are like the local people that we can trust in, that are actually, you know, of character, which is again in the Bible. We read it in 1 Timothy, and it talks about the office of an overseer. We wonder why we have problems in the body of Christ. That's because the men who are on stage are the literal personification of slaves to their flesh. They are fat. They don't look like beacons of health. They got all weird things behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? Why can't you just I don't understand what happened to just people being attracted to just the same sex of their age and of their in a healthy way. Like, whatever happened to that? Like, sometimes I really give myself a hard time for my choices in life that I've made and the choices I make. And I be going to the Lord. Like today, I had one of those cleansings with the Lord where the Lord gave me the fear of all time and put the fear of God in me. Which again, this is what I'm saying. What I'm saying about when men actually set a standard. Because even to me, right? I listen. I like to misbehave. I don't like to follow the rules. So I like to misbehave. So if you're not strong enough in yourself, I'm going to corrupt you. Like, and I'm going to. But it's a good thing because you know why? It keeps everything interesting for everybody. Keeps everything interesting. I like that the Lord puts the fear of God through me, you know, by how he is and his character, because it makes me think, you know what, I need to like, let's not take things too far. And also at least somebody's, you know, serious enough. That encourages me as a woman in society. It actually encourages me to be like, you know what, I want to be a better version of myself. You know, that's what I visualize when I think of men as leaders. Like that makes me want to be that makes me want to get my life together. That makes me want to like become a better woman. You know what I'm saying? Because you're leading by example, and your example that you have led is so impressive that I want to do that. And I want to rise my standards to that as well. You know what I mean? In the same way, it does happen in the similar fashion to us as women in a similar way, but we're talking about the patriarchy abuse at this moment in time, you know, because again, like if us women, if we a lot of our problems we're having with the male community, or if we did the great international closed legs campaign, if we did that, a lot of the things we are asking for, we wouldn't have to ask twice or three times, or we would have to ask. A lot of things would change overnight. So this is what I'm saying. Everybody can take advantage of things as you will. And unfortunately, in this case, it comes a lot from the religious, the patriarchy in religion, which, like I said, is heavily fixated on, you know, well, you know, it's even like when it comes to women shouldn't speak in the church. It's like, okay, but because this is my thing now. I'm like, listen, that sounds like a lot. Being a man, like according to the Bible, bearing in mind that God gave the instruction to Adam before Eve was created. That sounds like a lot of responsibility I don't want to have anyway. That's why I'm like, let them have it. Like, let them have it. Why are we fighting for all this power? Do you know how much responsibility that is? You think I want to go to heaven and then God be like, so, you are the head of the household and I'm going to hold you accountable. Hell nah. Hell nah. Nah. That's a lot of responsibility to have to account for on Judgment Day. Let them have it. Let them have it. I'll just look after everybody and I'll just try and do my best and I'll just, you know, I'll just be the vibe, because what do you mean? That's so much responsibility. And that's where I think you guys are deluded in thinking that, oh, we're going to use this as a tool to like manipulate the women and get what we want. And oh, this was the Bible says, this was the Quran says, this is how things are in society. It's like, go ahead, baby, go ahead. You're going to be held accountable. That's why I'm making this video literally as a warning, as if to say like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Like, that's such a good piece. That's what I feel like is the actual understanding of when it comes to sin. Once you actually receive Christ, is that of course you're covered now. So we're all covered. Whatever we do, as long as we, as it says in Romans 10:9, when you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart is raised from the dead, then you shall be saved. That's the requirement, right? So once we get that, that's good, right? But the thing is, there's another part that comes with that. That means that after that, we have to also recognize that just because you can doesn't mean you should. And the whole concept of having Christ, which again goes back to Galatians 5:22. Let's just go there and read that straight from the Bible, because I don't even know if I've been saying it right. And also, I've got a new Bible, as you guys know. Well, I'm saying it's new. I've had it for a little while now, but it's new. Until I've like had this for like 5 years, it's going to be considered a new Bible. Until I've like read the whole Bible again through this Bible, it's a new Bible. But yeah, and you know, where is it? Where's Galatians in this Bible? Oh, this is so weird. Aha, Galatians 5:22. Listen to it says, but the fruit of the Spirit. So the Spirit, what Spirit? The Spirit that Christ, by the way, Christ gave us, the Spirit that Christ gave us, right? That he sent, that came out from him into us while our spirits went into him. That's what the scriptures mean. And yeah, that Spirit, the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of God, the fruit that Spirit is within us. Galatians 5:22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Can I say it? Can I say it? Can I say it? And it's so funny to me because so many men in the Bible were on this is what I'm saying. It only actually doesn't benefit you in the long haul. Because you see man after man in the Bible, yeah, who fumbled the bag because they couldn't control themselves, right? We have Cain and Abel, yeah. Cain doesn't bring a good enough this is what I'm saying, because I'm a woman. There's always been this obsession of having to have this standard of being a good woman, good woman, good woman. So I know a lot of the scriptures because I've lived in the anxiety of trying to reach some impossible standard my entire life, which is why I had to eventually just free myself off the chains of expectation and just be okay as long as the Lord approves. I feel like the Lord approves of what I'm doing, because I know that the religious patriarchy I've grown up in, it's never going to be good enough. That's why I don't even try to be good enough. That's why I tried. And then I also realized that on the other side, the guys get to basically get away with anything because they're men and because they write the rules. All right. But back to Cain and Abel, right? So Cain could have just, God was like, listen, you didn't do good enough the first time, but listen, run it back. But if you don't listen, if you don't resist right now, sin is knocking at your door. If you do not overcome it, it's what is the words it used? Its results will be something like basically it's going to backfire on you, right? Which is exactly like what I'm saying now. We'll just read it. We're here. The Bible's here. Let's read it again in this new translation. So we're in Galatians 4. It is Genesis 4. Okay, so let's just skip straight on to. We'll read it. In the course of time, chapter 4, verse 3. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord, but Abel also brought an offering, fat portions from some of the first of his flock. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering. So this is another thing. I feel like a lot of the patriarchy is where men haven't actually, they've abused it in such a way where rather than, again, becoming a man of character or looking at what you need to do better, you just try and find a way to abuse whatever your wheelhouse is and the tools you have in the shed as a man to manipulate the situation, rather than doing that, and you try to take advantage of those things, right? And not take accountability to say, hey, maybe I need to do better. That's why I consider a loser. That's why to me, the men in the world who are losers are the very ones I'm talking about, the ones who abuse this stuff, because it's like, well, how about if you just put in the work, you would get what you wanted. There's so many situations when it comes to the male community where I'm like, if you put work on yourself and not work to what you assume or how you can manipulate, I mean, actual work into your character as a person, actual self-awareness, actual humility, you would be able to achieve the things you want, but you think you can't because you're not prepared to put the work into those things and you're trying to find a shortcut. And that is one of the most unmasculine things absolutely ever, in my opinion. But anyways, so the Lord looked with favor upon Abel and his offering. See, Abel put in way more work. He's had his firstborn of his flock. He's gone to the point of cutting this animal, cutting out the fat portions. So how are you going to hate when somebody else is willing to do all of that and you haven't done it? This is an experience I noticed a lot of times, but I'm not going to get into that. So Cain was very angry and his face was downcast, right? So he got angry. Then the Lord said to Cain, why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? This is what's important about having God in your life, right? And this is why I also think that the fatherlessness issue is actually affecting the male community just as much, if not more. Because I was thinking about this about me, right? Because I'm a woman, I feel like this is why I have the kind of relationship with God that I have, right? And I think it's harder for men, actually, to be honest with you. But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it. Next line. Now Cain said to his brother Abel, let's go out to the field. While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. No self-control there. No self-control. So Cain, and then afterwards what happens? Just similar to Adam and Eve, right? Then the Lord said to Cain, where is your brother Abel? I don't know, he replied. Am I my brother's keeper? Loser energy. The Lord said, what have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are under a curse and driven from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it will no longer yield its crop for you. You will be restless and wanderer on the earth. So if you people are wondering of the male community why you're breaking your backs, it also actually goes back to Adam, who was given the instruction, because it was a similar thing he said to Adam. Right? If we remember, cursed is the ground. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do what you want to do. Make your excuses. The women you gave me. But the reality is we all have responsibilities of things that we're supposed to do. So either shut up, boss up, and stand up, or don't be surprised with the consequences of your actions. Let's go to our next example. Hello, let's go to Samson. Samson, he has the power to tear apart a lion with his bare hands. His mom had to follow extra special, rules during her pregnancy, which is not something you often see, right? We see that with like Mary, whatever. Special, again, Mary and Joseph, another incredible example, you know what I'm saying? Because God was like, listen, Adam, you can't, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to wait 9 months to consummate the marriage, because I'm going to need her to stay in this state while the Messiah, who's literally going to save all of you, is there. So again, how many men could God actually trust? How many of you, with all your pride and all your ego, could actually handle the public's opinion of you doing something like Joseph? Shout out to Joseph. He's an unsung hero in the Bible. And again, it's always the actual men who are actual real men that always are the unsung heroes, and the freaking riffraff, loser, entitled people who are at the forefront of the world. And that's why we know of names like Epstein and Weinstein and Diddy, and we know of names like Joel Osteen and TD Jakes, right? And all these people. This is why. But anyway, Samson is born. He has the power to tear apart a bare lion with his bare hands, yeah? Cool. And all of this. Then he goes with Delilah. not only, and you know what? My thing with that is, why did it have to be a prostitute from the ops? From the ops. Like, this is where I'm like, you guys need to actually humble yourselves with the pride as well, because like, you are creating your own demise. You and your own supposed logical brain went over to the ops. She's now with you. You guys are going back and forth, yeah? First time, she's like, oh, so what is it? So babe, right? After you guys have done the deed, so babe, so tell me, like, so how is it that you keep all your power exactly, right? She's been sent in by the enemy's camp, because obviously that's always the easiest way to take out a man, is not by war, is by woman, and I know that. So, here, how do you forget having to send in an army of 1,000 and waste all these soldiers, and you can just send in a prostitute? Like, that's crazy work. That's crazy, right? And then he lies to her. But then did he wake up in that moment and realize, oh, she's maybe he didn't realize before, even though you were warned, because your parents told you not to go to the Philistines, and you thought, well, I'm going to go anyways. Look at me, I'm macho with Samson. Have you seen me? Did you see it? Yesterday, I tore apart 3 lions. Are you dumb? Man's going to do what man's going to do. So he goes and does what he's going to do. But then, hey, listen, actions have consequences, baby. Do what you want to do, right? And so he does. And then second time. So this is like your second warning. And it's like, what do you want God to do at this point? But he's back again. He's back again for seconds, yeah? Back again for thirds. And then you know what it says? And this is where, some Samson again, where I'm saying, like, you guys doing what you think you're doing does backfire, because we also have our own our own tools in the shed. Said that she kept asking and he was vexed to death. And it doesn't take a lot, because, bless your hearts over there in the male communities, but you guys, your aversion to just a lot of thinking is just absolutely incredible. An incredible opportunity for us as women, because essentially, for a lot of ways, if we want to get things out of you, all we have to do is wear you out. And the thing is, you will stay. This is what I'm saying, like, go ahead and take advantage, because everybody has their advantages at play here, and it's only going to backfire. Anyways, he does such, he tells the truth, they come, cut his hair, right? Why would anybody have thought it was his hair? It was the ultimate thing. And there was no secret prayers, there was no secret rituals, it's just his hair, right? And she probably liked his hair, she probably thought his hair was handsome, right? And so she probably didn't even have any idea of cutting it herself, because she's probably like, hey, this is, do you know what I'm saying? Anywho's, so bro tells her, like the little slave he is, a prostitute from the ops, mind you. Yeah, level of the patriarchy, everybody, right? And then they gouge out his eyes, and he ends up playing the way I envision it, the way it's written in the Bible, is it's almost like they had him like dancing in the king's courts, like the king's idiot, like when they would have like a joker come in to entertain the king and just be acting like a fool, like a clown or something. And I feel like that. Imagine your eyes are gouged out now. Like, you were tearing apart bare lions that you can't even see. You can't even see, and your ops are actually laughing in your face. It's not like it actually only backfires on you at the end of the day, right? She probably is now living La Vida Loca back with her people, and obviously she's helped them to take down the biggest enemy. So I'm sure there's benefits for her. Probably got married to the king's son or something. Yeah. Living lifestyles of the rich and famous. And now, how did he die? Oh, because he pulled the pillars of the sides of where they all were. 4,000 people died. He killed himself. Bro killed himself. Yeah. Where's the self-control? Where's the self-control, buddy? I forgot to mention Jacob and Esau. Esau was the firstborn heir to the throne. You know, you guys go heirs to stuff. Go ahead and be heirs. It sounds like a lot of work. Listen, all this stuff sounds like a lot of work to me. I can't be asked. Go and have it. I don't want it. That's so much work. But, you know, and so he was heir, right? And this is Jacob's sons. So these are going to be, is this Jacob's sons? Am I right here? No, Isaac's sons. Yeah, because one of them is Jacob, Isaac's sons. So Jacob is about to become Israel, the father of the 12 tribes of Israel, right? We don't know that just yet, but it's about to happen. And him and Esau, his brother, Esau's out, you know, doing the field work with his father, you know what I mean? Doing all of this, right? Comes back. And his brother, it's like, hey, I got a plate of food for you here. Because his brother was indoors. He used to be indoors. He was quiet and he used to, like, I think, read and stuff and hang out more with his mum. It's like, Esau, how about I'll give you a plate of food. I'll give you a bowl of stew for your birthright. And bro sold his whole birthright for a plate of food, and I believe it, because you see, men don't do well when they're hungry. They don't. And I find it funny. And again, ladies, you're missing out on an easy thing. Just cook for them. Just do it, and do it with a smile on your face, because it's so funny. Especially because I'm somebody who doesn't eat a lot. I love to cook, but I don't like eating. I don't eat a lot, right? But when I've noticed throughout the years, whether it was growing up with brothers, whether it's being around men, whatever, being in a relationship, they really struggle, and they are struggling. And it's kind of endearing in one aspect and also overwhelmingly funny, right? So anyways, I believe it. That's why when Jesus said he fasted 40 days and 40 nights, I was like, that's my king. And that's on self-control. And that is something that you don't hear from the male community. Even nowadays, when I see the men of God doing these big fasts, I'm like, I'm impressed. Not to say that we don't struggle as women. I'm just saying. So Esau, Jacob ends up becoming Israel, has the 12 tribes of Israel, his whole childhood, longhood. And it turns out Esau's bloodline, as you guys will know, turned out to be the losers. They ended up becoming the one tribe that God was like, we need to get rid of. We need to finish them for all of eternity. They were the ultimate losers. They were the losers who came and to attack God's people when God was bringing them out of Egypt, and attacked from the back. And they only attacked like the weakest, because they weren't even men of strength, which is, I feel like, was a generational thing, was the generational curse that came down from Esau. Right, of the lack of self-control. So they can't even come like real men and attack from the front and be like, hey, we're gonna whatever go to war and actually fight the strongest. They went at the back to the women that were pregnant, and these are the people they killed. And that's why when God sent the people to eventually kill him, his own people, they were like, and this, just as you killed the women of Israel, just as you made the women of Israel, it was like, just as you made Rachel motherless, as in Rachel being, you know, the wife of Jacob. So basically saying, just as you killed the women of Israel, is basically like what it's saying, because it's saying, just as you killed the children of Rachel, saying just as you killed the women of Israel, right? Because Rachel was Jacob's boo thing. Well, so was Leah. Long story. And then Handmaid's Tale, I should bring that up, right? And then he was like, and so will your mother now be childless. And that was one of the only, what were they called? The Amalekites. Yeah, the Amalekite tribe was one of the only ones that God was like, take them out, take them fully out, take them out, because what disgusting loser behavior to come in from the back. So I'm saying. And these are the kinds of people that run the world. You see what I'm saying? These kind of big wig leaders in the world, these people in the church, these pastors and preachers and deacons and popes who take advantage of people who don't know better, who take advantage of people in their when they're in a weak position. You know, same with these predators. Why do you think they choose children? Why do you think people choose children or young women? Because they're vulnerable. They're easy to take advantage of. Loser behavior. loser behavior. A lot of these people, they know, I've realized it, like over time, like a lot of people, a lot of men, the reason why they like young women is because they know if they talk to an older woman, yeah, and I'm not saying older, I'm even talking about my own age now. I'm already at the age, which is kind of scary to think about, where I can tell I'm putting off the men who think they can take advantage of women. And I'm only turning 29 in a couple of days. Like, I'm not even like, not even my 40s or 50s. So that's crazy to actually realize. Yeah, because again, loser behavior, you're not a man of character, you're not a man of anything, you're not a man to be respected. So the only people that are going to like you, it's like when I was like 13, 14, all this, there's all men telling me, oh, you're mature for your age. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's so cool to talk to an older guy. And I look back now and I think, what a disgusting thing. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, why can't you get people your own age? It's something you should think about. Like, why can't you, it's like I'm saying about all these world leaders, why can't you get respect based on the man you are, rather than having to do all this stuff? It's the same way I feel about men who do all this stuff to try and prove themselves to women. Like, oh, I'm going to get rich, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get this. But they're only with you the same way the people the people only following Kim Jong-un because they're scared of him is the same thing. Like, well, she's only with you because of the money. Is that something to be proud of? Is that something to sleep at night? Is that something to take away? Oh wow, well done. Like, that's why even when I look at these rich people and they're with young women, I'm like, that's not nothing to be proud of. Like, why are you out here on the red carpets flashing that you're with a young girl? Like, you just look like a loser because she was only there. Like, it's nothing to be proud of. Like, and I thought you guys had an ego. Like, what happened to that? But anyway. And so, let's keep going, shall we? King Solomon. Oh, he was the wealthiest and wisest in all the land. He had 1,000 wives. So it's 700 wives and 300 concubines. Yeah, he was swimming in it. But guess what? It all went downhill for him in the end because he ended up getting involved with all the gods of all those women. So all those thousand women he thought it was all fun and games being with. Yeah, he ends up falling to his own demise. You see, the Christians, they never tell you about how the story ends. And that's because these leaders, they don't want to think about that part. They're not thinking about that while they're there in their slavery and their loser behavior, right? And all goes downhill for him. Because why? Oh, because he gets in with the gods. All these different gods. Because all these women he's got probably from all over the world. Yeah. And he's philandering with. Yeah, they came with their gods. And so then he ended up finding himself far away from his God. And then he's writing the book of Ecclesiastes. Life is just but a vapor. It's just a vapor. And it's all a vanity. It's all just a vanity. Yeah, he realized that he ate the fruit again and realized it actually wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. So Solomon goes through the same thing. We're going to talk about next. Ahab and Jezebel, which again was a business deal because they were coming together. She was the Phoenician princess, and again she was more strongly into her gods than he was into his god. And that's where the demise of Israel, that part of Israel came from, because then he got with her, and then she did she's the Jezebel is like the Kris Jenner level. Right? If there's Kris Jenner to a prostitute, yeah, Delilah's like the Kris Jenner is like the OnlyFans models of today. They're like the Delilahs, yeah. And then Kris Jenner, she's like a Jezebel, yeah. That's the scale. So she's all like, Ahab's all like, oh, I wanted that land, but that farmer said I can't have it. And she's like, you want that land, babe? And then she goes and kills the guy. And then she's all like, but I did that for you. And that's the kind of women. And then a lot of men fall for Jezebels. A lot of men are with the Jezebel, and this is why they don't realize why their life is stressed. They're not happy, whatever. This is what we're seeing in the church. This is why these men are enslaved, because they have Jezebels in their ear. Right, making them feel like what they're doing is okay, making them feel like whatever behind the scenes, the hypocrisy, because that's what she does. She brings in confusion. Unlike Delilah, who clearly came from the ops, and you can clearly see in plain English that she was not somebody to be getting involved with. Jezebel swooping in, she's your wife, she's got your best interest at heart. I know there's so many men in the world who are not reaching their purpose because they married a Jezebel. But then go ahead with your patriarchy though, guys. Go and abuse your patriarchy, because it's really working out for you. Like, it's actually, you guys are actually winning your life with it. You're actually living a life as a result. And the crazy part was, Jezebel was all still there until the second book of Kings. First Kings, Ahab ends up dead, yeah? Jezebel, a lot of people don't even know about Ahab. A lot of people don't even know his name, but everybody's heard of a Jezebel. Isn't that funny? And again, back to The Handmaid's Tale, that was the name of because they had in The Handmaid's Tale, I'm going to go there because this is exactly perfect. Handmaid's Tale is actually the perfect example of what I'm talking about. Because in The Handmaid's Tale, I don't know if you've seen it, I have. And in it, oh, I love it. It's really good. And the woman who does it, she's a Scientologist, which doesn't surprise me, right? What's her name? Something Moss. something Moss. It'll come to me in a second. But anyways, and in the show, it's all based on the scriptures between about Jacob and when he was trying to have a baby with Rachel, because Jacob wanted Rachel. I'm going to summarize the story of the Bible. Jacob wanted Rachel, right? This is one of my favorite stories because it's actually funny to read back to back the Bible verses and to see like this could actually be its own TV show, this whole situation, right? So Jacob sees Rachel and he's like, who's that girl? La, 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 right? So he goes over there. And then he goes up to Laban and he's like, hey, look, so I saw your daughter. I'd love to marry her. And then Laban's like, oh, yeah, sure. I'm just going to need you to work for this many years. And then you can have her. So Jacob's like, hey, you ain't got to ask me twice. And so then he goes and does that, right? But then when the time comes, he's like, okay, so is it now or is it what? Because I've been here working my ass off to prove myself. Then he's like, well, the thing about it is, I have an older daughter, Leah, and I can't really marry off my younger daughter without marrying off my older daughter. And then he's like, okay, but is there anything more I can do to also get Rachel? And he's like, well, you're going to have to work again. And so then he does. And so then he requires both Rachel and Leah. But the thing is, because obviously once they got married, and obviously because of free will, and because God holds us accountable for our choices and our decisions, when they got together, he was all there off with Rachel doing up lovey-doveys, right? Like they were off in Italy where I was. Everybody's all carving their names in the old ruins in hearts, and it's all amore, and it's very romantic in Italy. Low-key, I realized, I think smelling the Italy air is what led me to end up catching feelings. I actually think it had, because just being in the air and just being around just how everybody is, and just Italy is just, it's a romantic place. Everybody's getting married. It's just, everything is just beautiful there and whatever, right? So they were probably off, taking trips to Italy. No, I'm joking. They weren't doing that. And Leah's just there on the sidelines like, what is happening here? Because I'm supposed to be a married woman, but I'm feeling like I'm single. And the Lord was like, Jacob, you're not giving Leah her marital rights. So God was like, Rachel, barren. Leah, pregnant. And then it caused a whole riff. And then so Rachel was like, oh, right. Well, take my servant instead. And that scripture right there, that scripture. So the 12 tribes of Israel actually come from 4 different women, Rachel, Leah, and both of their 2 servants. Yeah, that's a fun story. Once again, I'm sure Jacob was having such a hard time with his predicament. But anyways, so, and then in The Handmaid's Tale, basically they take that whole script and they're like, because they come to a world where there's no more fertility, which is like I've told you guys what I think is going to happen because of the food and everything we're eating and how we're living. Also, I think just all the things we're doing in the demons, but we're going to get to a time of fertility, because now fertility is hard. IVF has become so normal. Once upon a time, it was like an old thing. Now it's like everybody's on a freaking IVF journey. Like, and that's also because everybody's just like selfishly waiting until they're like 40 to have kids, whilst after we've all already contaminated each other and all been in 10,000 different relationships, have all these different traumas, soul ties, this, that, and the other, past, stuck in our ways. Like, it's very stupid how we live today, but whatever. And so then they're in a world where there's barely any fertility left. So all the women who are fertile get taken to be handmaids for the rich people, right? And then again, the rich people, it's in Gilead, right? In Gilead, the women are not allowed to read. They're not allowed to write. And the women who are married to the rich men are actually the worst off in the show because they can't do anything. At least the handmaids, they're there to like have the babies so that the couple can have a baby. So the couple takes over the baby. And then they have what are they called? Marthas, which again, I find it funny, Mary, Martha, like the biblical aspects. And it is all based off this biblical story. And the Marthas kind of like run the house. So the wives are the worst off, and then the men obviously meet up and they have all of their meetings and they decide how they're going to continue the work of Gilead and spread it across the world, because it's only one part of the United States at this point, and they're trying to expand around the world and get the whole world doing this. And of course, whilst they're out and about afterwards, going to the brothel, which is called Jezebel's. But the key thing about The Handmaid's Tale, right, is that so the women in this scenario only either get to become a handmaid, a wife, a Martha, or a Jezebel, right? Or an auntie. And the aunties are kind of the ones that teach the girls how to be handmaids or how to be Marthas. It's all very interesting, right? And I know that this is some men in the world's absolute dream, right? And this has been the problem. This is the problem because of how men have acted this way, right? And then the whole premise, and it's actually so funny to watch, right, is they do a ceremony, the impregnation ceremony, because of course the husband is going to impregnate the handmaid. And so the wife, like, she's like there laying on the bed, yeah, with her like legs spread, with the handmaid laying in between her legs, and then the husband having sex with the handmaid. And then they recite this scripture, guys. The world is heinous. The world is heinous for taking the scripture. And then because Rachel was barren, Jacob took her servant as a handmaid. And as they're doing this, they're doing it, guys. Oh my gosh. This is some of the best things I've ever seen in my life, because what is wrong with you to have to make this into a movie? As I'm not surprised that it's the freaking Scientologist lady who's like the co-director, and she's the main character. She's the main handmaid that's doing all the stuff, right? And then Jacob went into her handmaid, and oh my gosh, it's actually cringe, and it's actually cringy. And it's funny again because it also shows another little thing, because at one point she's not getting pregnant, the handmaid's not getting pregnant, yeah? So the wife's like, I know we can't talk about this, right? In this, I could be shot if I say this, but Fred, because that's his name, Fred, I think Fred's shooting blanks. Is there any way you could organize something between you and his security? And so she does. She does get pregnant. Oh, oh my gosh. It's such a good show, actually, because then her and him all fall in love in the security. But then she also had a daughter that was stolen, because they also stole all the kids that everybody else had to give to the rich folks who couldn't have kids, to the women who were barren, which again is just... Anyways, and that's also another evidence of like, where I'm just like, I don't care what the world says about fertility, whatever. Listen, God can switch it on and off as ever he wants, just like he did with Adam and Abraham and Sarah. And Sarah was like, but I'm too old. And God's like, am I not God? Am I not God? But yeah, so that's the tale of the Handmaid's Tale, by the way. And even in that show, it also backfired, because then the women just revolted. Because that's the other thing, like, I don't think men realize as well, is that it gets to a point where when you take advantage so much of somebody, some people are only going to be okay being slaves for so long. Because even I feel like that now. Like, even I feel like that in terms of like the dating side of things. Most of the time, yeah, a lot of people come to you like with everything that they like about you and that they're ready to take from you. It's like, well, what do you bring? You're not even making this interesting. Like, you're not even interesting. You're not even something to be around. Like, and that's just in the dating scene, let alone. So then when it gets to marriage, no wonder your wife doesn't respect you. No wonder your wife's not having sex with you. No wonder you have all the issues under the sun. No wonder she talks down to you, because you're not a respectable man. You didn't become a man. You took advantage of religion. You took advantage of all of this. No wonder your kids don't respect you. No wonder your daughter's off doing whatever. No wonder. No freaking wonder. No wonder your son, whatever. No wonder. Because you are not a man of respect. You're not a man to be respected. You're not. And if you were, then people would be following you. This is why even Jesus, yeah, this is why everyone's like, oh, Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Yeah, just because you and your enslaved self wouldn't be able to control yourself with such access to women doesn't mean Jesus could. But you know why Jesus had all the women following him? Because he was a compelling man. And bro came in, he didn't come in a Lamborghini. He didn't wake up in a Bugatti. You know what I mean? That's not what happened. No, he didn't. He came in a manger. And he was out here as a carpenter, just living his life. And he had the ladies following after him. He had Herod's assistant. He had Mary Magdalene. It was the women who were actually more believing in him than even a lot of the men were. Which, again, it doesn't surprise me, right? Because God gave us wisdom. You guys might have the knowledge over there, but we have the wisdom. That's why our wisdom, when used wickedly, is just an incredible. And not to just remind everybody that Jada Pinkett Smith's band is called Wicked Wisdom. You couldn't write this stuff, right? And again, Will Smith is a perfect example of what I mean. Like, bro was on such a high and whatever. I never really liked the guy. I never respected the guy personally, and I think that's also my discernment. And I was like, look at him, and he's still just there enslaved. That's what I'm saying. You just find yourself in a situation where you didn't actually get what you wanted at the end of the day, and whatever you did get, and however you did get it, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It backfired. Well, however you did get, whether it's that you got power and now you run a country, whether it's that you got you run a church and you have a congregation of tens of thousands, whether it's that you got rich, whether it's that you got the woman you want, whether it's that you get the validation you want, whatever, those things are empty and external of you, and whatever you're getting for those things is only because of your abuse of those other things. So that's not something to be proud of. Like, to me, that's not something to be proud of. Well, something to be proud of is to have invested in who you are as a person, and to be able to, in a room full of all these people with all these other things, just like how Jesus is, you got all these people following after you. And it's like, why is everybody after this guy but I have this, but I have this, but I do that. Yeah. And then also, like I said, you're ruining the very world you want, because it's then like, well, you want to then have, you want to have a women in your life, and you want us to be these good and godly women, but then you're going to come and contaminate us with all your demons. You want us to be looking after your children and growing up these children, but then you're not even going to be a man that they're worth looking up to. You're not even going to be able to be an example. You're not even going to be able to handle, whatever. You're going to ruin it for yourself. And guess what? You're still going to be held accountable. That's why I'm like, take it. Take it all you want. Like, take it. Have it all. Have all the power. I don't care. Listen, if they take away... I'm sad I didn't grow up in the years when they did lobotomies, because I wish I didn't have to understand everything as well as I did. I'm sad I wasn't just one of those wives who, as soon as I started thinking for myself, immediately got a lobotomy, and then was just essentially just like a robot who just did whatever, kept my mouth closed, my legs open, and my ass in the kitchen, right? You know what I mean? I wish I was been born there, because now having to actually understand and see what I've seen in the world and how the abuse of power, and like I say, all this modesty stuff, but then you guys are the ones who can't control yourselves. We now have women having to cover up their eyes, their entire everything in Afghanistan now. Everything has to be covered. They're not allowed, another woman's not allowed to hear their voice. They have to be chaperoned by a woman. But then when it comes to things like us in church, and it's like, oh, I'm there in church and I'm dressed in a tracksuit. Oh, this is inappropriate. Oh, do this. You're going to cause a man to stumble. Little girls in the Mormonism, getting blamed at like 12 years old. One girl was saying, her skirt was 1 inch too short, she was told, and she's going to cause the boys to stumble. And girls that are doing all these classes about how to be being modesty. Meanwhile, the boys are just getting to play video games in the background. Nothing against video games, by the way. I actually love video games myself. And I think there's way worse things that men can be doing than playing video games, for one. I just like to put that out there. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you're ruining it for yourself, because the kind of man, like, this is what I don't think men think about. Think about, like, actually think, do you want your daughter to be with a man like you? Like, I don't think men think deeply enough about that. Do you want your daughter, like, do you want your son to become a man like you? Like, really? Because when you think about it like that, all of a sudden, everything that you think is fun to get away with isn't so fun anymore. And I truly believe that in some ways, a lot of you wrote your own stories. This is why the world is the way that it is. This is because us as women, there's not enough respectable men around there. Because even I'm like, God, when are you going to send them? When are there going to be like a handful of them that we can actually, like, that are going to do some stuff? Because it's all well and good, like us over here in the female department. This is what I realized. As many lovely Christian, I know a lot of lovely Christian girls, by the way. I know a lot of Christian girls, but I'm just like, and like I said, it's because of the difference in standards. Our standards have always been so much higher, and this has gone on for hundreds of years, thousands of years, not just within religion. And now we're all paying the price for it. Now we're either just taking what we can get. Listen, I would rather be, I know this is going to say something that's going to sound insane. I would rather be a side chick than a wife, because it sounds like less work. Because at least I know what I'm getting out of it, and I'm not going to have to stress myself out. Well, the standards for me are up here, and the standards for you are here. And I'm talking about in religious circles, because in the worldly circles, I think it's different, right? Talk about religious circles. My standards are going to be up here. I'd rather be on the side. I just get to do the fun stuff with no stress, live my independent life, go back to my own house where I don't have to worry about. I'd rather do that. I'm not going to, by the way, before anybody says that. But that's how I feel about it, because the thought of being like some of these wives I've seen, the thought of being even, a pastor's daughter, oh, hell nah. And there was the pastor's sons as well, mind you, the ones all pushing me up against walls, forcing kisses onto me, trying to do this, trying to do that, sending me all these scandalous messages. Yeah, all these things when I was, whatever. But if whatever they did, oh, no. If something happened with them, oh, boys will be boys. I get pregnant. Oh my gosh. And I remember another girl got pregnant by one of these pastors, these are the pastor's sons, guys. Oh my gosh. And when she got pregnant with him, I was like, dodged the bullet of all time. Because the way everybody would have ridden the wave giddy up horsey on that story, had it been me, Oh my days. Oh my days, right? And I don't like the guy because, again, he was all like, because he was a pastor's son, he was all being buttered up and like, so he was another one who was all up in like thinking he was all whatever, and everybody was all like, oh wow, and he's all playing in the worship team, and he's all, you know, representing, he's all strong and goes to the gym. Yeah, you know what? And then there's me. I come into church in a tracksuit and it's inappropriate. What are you doing? My dad's been told stories that we saw your daughter kissing a guy under the underpass. I've never once ever kissed a guy under the underpass, and I know that because the underpasses are dirty. You guys even know that because even now, and also I wasn't doing that. I wasn't kissing guys. I didn't even. Oh my gosh, you guys already know the story. I didn't even. I wouldn't even have done that because the freaking underpasses were scary. There were spiders, there were cobwebs. It's only recently they've just been painting them all, and I've been showing you guys this as I've been doing my videos walking around. You think I was kissing guys under the underpass, and you're telling these stories to my dad, making up stories because I'm a pastor, because I'm a woman. This is why it backfires. This is why I can't be mad at the girlies who hate the men. I can't lie. I don't agree that either of us should hate each other for our problems. Like I said, I talked a lot about our problems as women also in the previous videos and in many of my videos. But I also can't say, like, you can't really be mad because, again, a lot of men, a lot of the patriarchy is like, well, I'm not like this. Well, then be an example. Well, then teach your others. Well, then become a leader. Jesus had disciples. If the men of God of today were creating disciples and not just standing on stages and becoming mentors or spiritual fathers, and were creating disciples like Christ, teaching, leading by example, the world wouldn't be the way that it is. And that's one of the main reasons. I'll say it since it's this late in the video. So if you're listening this far, I'll say something very vulnerable. This is actually the core of where my despair about existing comes from, is the fact that I recognize that unless the men decide to stand up, it doesn't matter what I do or all of us women do. And there's just like, so it's like, this is completely out of my hands. And the only solution is for the men to submit to Christ. Because that's the other thing. If that's the so-called hierarchy, God, man, God, Jesus, man, yeah, Jesus, man, Jesus. Everyone wants to talk about man, woman. Everyone wants to talk about Jesus, man. And at this point, I feel like that's the biggest issue we're having. Because I'm not seeing men like Jesus. I know Jesus, so I know a Jesus man when I see one. That's why I know we're in a drought. And that's probably why when Jesus came in Matthew 9, he said, the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. Anyways, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Welcome. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I got everything off my chest today. And like I said, I'm saying this because like somebody has to say it. And at some point, you're either going to get upset at what I'm saying or going to realize I'm making a fair point. And if you haven't, check out the video before. If life's a game, let's play to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. I'll see you in my next one.